Got a little reading for the Chalice Lighting today by Gretchen Hanley. In a world that feeds on moral outrage, we are here to cultivate moral courage. In a time that prizes picking sides, we gather to draw a wider circle. In a culture that teaches us to get for what we give and to ask, what's in it for me? We come to practice generosity and to remember we are all in this together. In the midst of life's bitterness, we choose to sing, to give thanks, to laugh together, and to be keepers of beauty. To offer a place of belonging to all who come in gladness and in pain, to resist the push to the next moment and the next, to slow down, to breathe more deeply, to feel part of something greater. For this hour and in this space, let us be the change we wish to see.
As we enter this worship portion of our service today, Bob and I want to acknowledge that we owe all of the ideas that we're going to use to Rev Ryan, Reverend Don Hollins, and Reverend Karen Anderson. The Unitarian Universalist denomination has never been evangelical in nature, but is there an opportunity for opening ourselves and our doors to new friends via living out an active invitation? We have a lot to offer the growing spiritual but not religious population, and it starts with understanding our ability and responsibility to share our faith in a loving and respectful way. We're going to be using our time together today to see if we can learn how to share our faith, the good news of Unitarian Universalism. So to start off this morning's welcome is also an invitation crafted by Reverend Don Hollins, a retired UU pastor. See if you can notice his approach to proselytizing, sharing our good news, which Reverend Karen Anderson calls the "if you are" approach, as opposed to the dreaded "you ought to believe this." He says, if you think the real difference between straight folk and gay folk is that straight folks can publicly express their affections and identity without risking their jobs, their homes, or their safety, you might like to join us at our Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. If you experience a connection to nature and other human beings, if you think you're responsible for your own mind, body, and spirit, if you know that you don't know every answer to every question, then you might like our UU fellowship. If you're not afraid of humanists, who aren't afraid of pagans, who aren't afraid of theists, who aren't afraid of atheists, who aren't afraid of Hindus, Jews, Muslims, Christians, or Buddhists, you might dig Unitarian Universalism. If you're fairly sure that face and body piercing do not by themselves signal the end of Western civilization, and if you actually like your cage rattled every once in a while, well, you'd like coming to our worship service. If you're just irreverent enough to get at least a smirk from singer Tom Waits' observation that there ain't no devil, that's just God when he's drunk, if you're ashamed of the amount of press coverage given to the debate about the place of God in the Pledge of Allegiance in a nation where a sixth of the children are hungry and health care is considered non-essential, then, my friend, I have a church for you. As we get ready to craft our own invitations during the cafe conversation coming up in just a bit, I want to assure you that I am completely aware of how loaded the words evangelize and proselytize are for most you fellows, mainly because we've all been victims of the process. Evangelizing has come to mean converting to Christianity, and proselytizing often means propagandizing and brainwashing. But think of this. Eve and angelize come from the Greek word Eve and angelos. You can hear angel in there, huh? Good and messenger. And proselytize can also mean to assist, to help, to present, to suggest, and support. We are messengers of a different kind of good news. Listen to Reverend Karen Anderson as she proselytizes. If you're feeling this deep sense of sinfulness, or a need to be forgiven, that's okay. But we may not be the best place for you. But if you are struggling with disconnection and want a deeper connection to yourself, others, and life, then we have something to offer you. We're not saying ours is better or worse than any other option, just different, just focused on different needs. We're saying, though, if you're feeling life is shallow and thin, then hey, we've got the fellowship for you. If you're after connection, then come on over, and you'll find others striving to connect with their deepest self, life's gifts, and serving needs greater than their own. We will indeed welcome you for the unique and beautiful human being you are. Again, this is about sharing and options, not about arguing for the best idea. We here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Santa Cruz County, that's quite a mouthful, huh? We're in a bit of a quandary. One of our values is no proselytizing, yet we want to grow our fellowship. Thus far today, we have heard about an approach to how our evangelical message could be shared in a way that embraces our values as UU members. Evangelize, like I said, comes from the Greek word Eve and angelos, good and messenger. We are messengers of a different kind of good news. Our fellowship takes seriously deeds over creeds, acceptance, not exclusion, and open spirituality over an enforced conformity. We envision ourselves as a place that cares about living well in this life rather than worrying about the next. How can we tell our friends that we're here and remain aligned with our value of not proselytizing? Sharing the good news is a well-known phrase in evangelical Christianity. I identified several statements of our good news while welcoming you all to the service today. Your friends may ask you if you go to church, do you have any spiritual beliefs, what is your faith? Consider that they're asking you to share the good news, our good news. And make no mistake, ours is a distinctive faith, if faith is the word for it, because we are a community. Ours is that advocates for free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We don't pretend to have the answers. Instead, we start with acceptance. acceptance of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And we expand the circle of our community by welcoming those who share our values. So in our cafe conversation today, we will identify some of our reactions that we have had to someone proselytizing to us about what we ought to believe, the one truth we must accept, the only good news there is. And then we will identify what we might say to someone about our fellowship that might touch their yearning to understand the mystery, might connect with their desire for community, might embrace hope for an experience of being accepted for whatever it is they believe. Maybe you could even ask the person to join you at one of our fellowship services if they would like. Maybe they would.